Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar where we'll be working to alleviate your accounting angst. My name is Brad Zaitzoff, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at Tailwind, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. And I'm sure many of you already know our main presenter today, the implementation specialist and customer therapist here at Tailwind, Lynda Clare. Lynda has over 40 years of experience in transportation, from working in operations to being a financial controller. She's done and seen it all. Lynda, great to have you.
Hi, Brad. Thanks.
So just an initial bit of housekeeping before we get started. The webinar is being recorded and will be sent out to all the registrants in the next day or so. And while webinar attendees are on mute, if you have a question, please send us a message in the question box and we'll respond to them at the end of the presentation. And for those new to Tailwind, we're a transportation software company focused on helping small to mid-sized trucking companies, freight brokerages, and those businesses that do both. Now, since launching our true web-based TMS offering in late 2016, we've made over 250 enhancements and updates to it. So we listen to and are accountable to our customers and take pride in lessening their anxiety-inducing operational challenges.
Oh, Brad, wordy.
Well, just tying in the AAA play, of alleviating accounting angst there.
Perfect.
Our goal with this webinar is to help you breathe a little bit easier when tying in accounting to the admin and operational sides of your business, to ultimately help you alleviate your accounting angst. And we'll do that by covering common accounting anxieties in the transportation industry, how Tailwind and Quickbooks can help alleviate accounting angst, and how to work with the new Tailwind TMS and Quickbooks integration to make you a Zen master, or at least not feel as jittery coming into work on Monday mornings. And with that, I'll turn the presentation over to Lynda.
Thanks so much, Brad. And thanks to everyone for joining us today. All of you in the transportation industry face many different angst-inducing challenges when it comes to dealing with the admin and the books of your business. These range from 1, finding your true costs, like your cost per mile if you're an asset-based business, or pulling financial reports if you're either a trucking company, a brokerage, or an organization that does both. 2, duplicate data entry, having to move numbers from one system to another, which at best is a non-value adding activity, and at worst, one that can create all kinds of accounting headaches if a number isn't transposed correctly. 3, reconciling your accounts payable and accounts receivables, as you need to know that the money you pay out is what you indeed should be paying, and that there's not money left out there that you should be receiving. 4, creating accurate financial statements. Do you dread how long you'll have to spend or how much money you have to pay your accountant to put together your profit and loss statements and balance sheets at the end of the year? And 5, cash flow, managing that cash flow, where you have to find a way to pay salaries and commissions right away while waiting 60 to 90 days for customers to pay their invoices. Now that I've gone over a few of those angst-inducing challenges faced by many in the transportation industry, let's turn things back over to our audience and get some feedback. Brad, do you have a poll question for us?
Thank you, Lynda. I do. So out of the specific challenges that Lynda went through, what are the ones that are causing you accounting angst? You can choose as many here as that are relevant to you. So, is it trying to figure out your true costs and financial health? Is it the issue with duplicate data entry? Maybe it's reconciling those accounts payable and accounts receivable, or creating the accurate financial statements. And then the big one is, managing that cash flow. So give a couple seconds here for people to be able to provide their information here. Looks like things are coming in.
I'm voting managing cash flow is going to be the biggest problem. Sure was when I was running trucking companies.
Yeah, I think that looks like that one is a big one. It's coming in. Though some of the others are, Yeah, people are getting. It looks like they're still voting here, so I'll give people a few more seconds here to get their votes in. All right. Okay, looks like most have got it in, and things are, are and people. I'm getting people coming into the questions as well, saying B and C too. You should be able to answer right on the on the poll question there too. But looks like most people have see. So I'll close that and share it with people. So
Oh,
yeah, it
wow.
looks like a good mix. But yeah, that creating accurate financial statements looks like the biggest, but really everything there I think is things that we should be touching on. So that's really
Well,
good to
this is great news because the creating financial statements, which is the biggest, and that duplicate data entry, we can take care of with this webinar for you guys today.
know.
Sorry,
Awesome.
Brad, to interrupt.
No, no problem. Okay, I'm just going to hide those results, and we should be getting back to the webinar here.
Great. Thank you very much, Brad. So now let's find a way to tackle those challenges that cause you that accounting angst. So, finding true costs and financial health. For many asset-based companies, one of the hardest costs to put your finger on is your true cost per mile. How can you rate a load without knowing what your cost per running mile is? Fortunately, QuickBooks has multiple analytical tools that will help you with that. For example, you can class your revenue and expenses and your equipment, so your tractors, your trailers, and within QuickBooks, you can then drill down into reports and see a profit and loss statement for each piece of equipment. It does involve some setup in your QuickBooks instance and Tailwind, but once set up, it will give you a very useful analytical report. You can see which tractor is costing too much money in maintenance. You can get a mileage report from Tailwind, compare it to the P&L on that piece of equipment in QuickBooks to determine your true cost per mile. For non-asset-based companies like freight brokerage companies, having a sync tool to send your financial data to QuickBooks will allow you to create reports that may be needed, again, for analytical purposes, to see how your business is doing. Or maybe you want to approach your bank for some financial help to help your company grow. That bank or lending institute is going to want to see reports created out of a recognized financial reporting software. So having the ability to sync your data from your TMS allows you to have those reports readily available for your banker. Now, to talk to duplicate data entry, you simply don't have the time to enter 2 or 3 times. So you really owe it to yourself to use a TMS with a full integration with an accounting system like QuickBooks. For example, if you create an invoice in Tailwind and use our QuickBooks Sync, the exact same invoice will be created automatically in QuickBooks. This provides a huge savings in time and minimizes the risk of incorrect data entry. Syncing data takes away the frustration of boring data entry. And we all know through boredom comes data entry mistake. Let the sync do it for you. To speak to reconciling AR and AP, Tailwind's enhanced integration with QuickBooks Online ensures that your operational software is in line with your financial software. So now you have the flexibility to make your receivable calls out of either piece of software. Knowing exactly where your AR and AP are sitting gives you peace of mind, knowing the balance is there. It helps alleviate one of the biggest worries of running a business, knowing your bottom line. And about creating accurate financial statements. While Tailwind is very useful in managing your operations and admin, you also need thorough financial statements. Syncing your financial data to QuickBooks Online allows for easy creation of financial statements, such as profit and loss statements, balance sheets, etc. This can help cut down those rather expensive year-end accounting costs, If the data is all there, your accountant will spend far less time looking for it and more time on just creating your year-end reports and tax filings. And now cash flow. Managing cash flow, one of the biggest banes of transportation. We all have to put lots of money out up front, from paying out commissions to our salespeople and salaries to our operational staff. Asset-based transportation companies have to advance money on equipment, drivers, fuel, tolls, and road expenses. And then we sit and wait 30, 45, or 60 days to be paid from our customers. Now, some use factoring companies, and yes, both Tailwind and QuickBooks will support factoring your invoices. But we all know that factoring is a cost all on its own. Now, with better accounting and cash flow projections, you can avoid this pitfall and determine ways to finance your customers yourself and earn an even bigger bottom line while doing it. Within an industry that typically runs at below a 10% profit margin, adding that 2% that your factoring company takes back into your bottom line, well, that's huge and could mean the difference between you being able to finance more growth in your company. And if you use the Tailwind's POD Complete mobile app, your drivers and owner-operators can get a proof of delivery back to you and attached to the order in question within minutes of the final delivery. Imagine you can actually be invoicing your customers day of delivery. Now, there's a huge lift to your cash flow. Let's talk about financial data security just for a quick moment. The last point I would like to make has a bit more to do with financial data security. One of the benefits of recording your data in Tailwind is that we have security settings that can be set for each of your staff. Settings to either restrict or allow changes to previously posted financial records. To help ease that accounting angst, if you do need to change a transaction, Tailwind will simply send across the difference, either positive or negative, and record that in QuickBooks rather than directly updating the transaction. So you get a great audit trail. As well, if you make use of closing financial periods in QuickBooks through the sync, anything that tries to hit a closed period in QuickBooks will return an error to the sync screen in Tailwind and will not let it flow into QuickBooks. Senior accounting staff can then determine whether to open the period in QuickBooks or not. And once dealt with, they will also have the ability to suppress the record on the sync so it will not appear again. I can hear all those CGAs out there letting out a sigh of relief. Now that we've talked about the benefits of being able to sync your financial data from Tailwind TMS to Tailwind's TMSs, let's have a quick look at what the sync tool looks like and how easy it is to use. Hang on 2 seconds. I just want to make sure I'm showing the correct screen here, everyone. There we go. So you should be seeing my Tailwind database here for you. Let me just find my place in my script. Here on our toolbar, under Tools, we have a sync tool that will set up your synchronization. Let me first open up an order for you quickly so you can see an order that I'm going to sync. So orders become your invoices. Oh, let's go open. There we go. So orders become your invoices. Give me a minute, everyone. My database needs some refreshing here. There we go. I let it sit idle too long. And it's going to want me to log in again. No worries, I'll get us logged in really quickly here.
That's good. This way we get to see the full process of somebody logging in and getting into the system.
Yeah, there you go, Brad. Good point. All right. So again, let's open up that quick order so I can show it to you. Now, an order is, of course, what your customer asks you to move. In our software, the order converts to an invoice automatically upon delivery. So orders represent your revenue. I've got a freight charge. I've got a TARP charge on this order. I can easily see the related dispatch. I can open the related dispatch. I can see a summary that I've got revenue, I have expenses, I have a profit on this order. So this information is going to flow seamlessly over to your QuickBooks account. I happen to have QuickBooks open for us as well, so we can have a look in there. Let's go to the sync tool so I can show you. Okay, so if I go to QuickBooks, the first thing it asks me to do is connect. So I use the connect button to set up the authorization between the two softwares. This allows the softwares to talk to each other. And if I make use of branches, that's okay. You can sync financial data into a specific branch within QuickBooks. Connecting sets up that authorization for yourself, and give it just a moment, everyone. There we go. It's connecting now, and the two softwares are open to each other to communicate. Here on this screen is where you do a one-time mapping only. So you get to map your credit card accounts, Comdata accounts, accounts receivable, checking accounts directly out of Tailwind into your QuickBooks. You also get to map your revenue items. We all have accessorials. We have freight charges. We have accessorials like lumber services or extra pickups. You can map these revenue items out of Tailwind directly into a QuickBooks product or service that is already connected to your chart of accounts. While you can map your revenue items, you also get to map all those expense items as well. So everything is categorized exactly how you want it to be categorized within QuickBooks. For Canadian customers, if we have any Canadian clients or Canadian prospects in the webinar today, we do support taxes, and the software will enforce Canadian tax rules. For those American clients with us today, we all know there's no tax on freight in the US. There is, however, tax on freight in Canada, and our software will support that. We are a multi-currency software. Now, when I go next, this is my sync screen. This will show me if I have any customers waiting to sync over to QuickBooks, it will sync them. But for example, that invoice that I created, 13201, is sitting here waiting for me to sync it to QuickBooks. I can suppress it. I can open it here to review it if I want. But if I simply sync it into QuickBooks, it's going to go over to QuickBooks and it's going to automatically create that invoice. Let me go over there and show you. Remember, this is your invoice in Tailwind. Let's go and have a look at the related invoice in QuickBooks. So I'm simply in my QuickBooks. I'm going to sales. I'm going to go to customers and find XYZ. So let's just find XYZ customer. There we go, XYZ manufacturing. And I can now see the related invoice. It's the same number as it is in Tailwind. And if I open it up, which it's doing right now, I can see that my freight charge is put into my freight service. My TARP charge is put into my accessorial service. It's all right there. When I receive a payment in Tailwind on this invoice, that payment is going to sync over as well and will mark this invoice as fully paid in QuickBooks. It also hits your bank, so you can track your deposits in your bank account as well. All right, let me get back to my script here and have a quick look. So there's obviously so much more that can be done with QuickBooks and Tailwind. But as I want to make sure we leave time for questions, I am going to start wrapping things up. Let me just get back to my screen here. I think, Brad, you're going to take back the screen. Perfect. Sorry, one sec, everyone. I've just got to move my script back again now. Okay, so now we all know that in transportation, things radiate out from operations. Orders you move for your customers move through to dispatches, deliveries, invoices, and ultimately payment. How you guys actually make your money It is very common for transportation companies to pay close attention to their operations. It is, however, in operations that you can determine if you need to raise your rates or lower your costs of goods. Syncing financial data to QuickBooks gives you one more powerful tool for all that analysis of your business that is necessary to be successful in today's competitive transportation market. With a subscription to Tailwind TMS and QuickBooks Online, you have a fully integrated system to run the admin, ops, and financials of your business. All right, that's it for me. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover off with you guys in this webinar. I'm going to turn this back to Brad, who's going to field some questions for me.
Yeah, and we've got a couple actually really good ones coming through already. So first off, we have Sean asking, will Tailwind interface with the resident version of QuickBooks, or is it only for the online version?
Oh, that's a great question, Brad. And unfortunately, I have to tell you, it only syncs with the online version, not the desktop. QuickBooks has closed the door on any online application syncing to desktop. They're only allowing it to go to their online version.
That said, I can say, having sit in on several of the development discussion, it is something that we are looking at with the goal of trying to get some type of sync happening within before the end of the year. So it is something that we're working on, and that is going to be hopefully coming as long as the door hasn't been shut as tightly. And I think there's been some research done in there, so we should have a better answer for that within the next month or so. Next question, does it handle revenue allocations?
Oh, what a great question. Now there's someone who's really thinking through things. Brad, can you give me the screen back, please?
Sure, yeah. Let me
Thank you very much. So to speak to revenue allocations, just while I'm waiting for my screen to come back to me, and make sure I'm showing the right screen. Good, I am. Okay, so on every single order that you move, get any old order up here, you can do revenue allocation right within Tailwind itself. Let me open this order up and show you. You can do revenue allocation here under the More button. I have the ability to determine revenue allocation. So for example, for those that don't understand what I'm speaking about revenue allocation, if I move one order on multiple dispatchers using multiple tractors or multiple carrier partners, I would have the need to allocate specific revenue to those dispatches or costs. So right within Tailwind, you can always allocate your revenue as well on any bills. Let me go and find us a quick bill here. On any bills that you create, you can also do cost allocations within Tailwind. Tailwind is an incredibly robust piece of software that has lots of things hidden behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about. But this cost and revenue allocation, so if I open a bill, sorry, I'm jumping a little bit here. If I open an actual bill, it's already been paid, so I can't do cost allocation anymore. Anyway, you can do cost allocation on bills, you can do revenue allocation on orders, and yes, those allocations will sync to QuickBooks. I hope I answered that question for you.
And just a quick note, there are obviously, as you mentioned, Lynda, a lot of kind of things that are happening in the background of Tailwind. If there is any ever confusion that somebody might have, they can always go to that little chat box in the corner there at the bottom right of the screen and always talk to our support team that's available through there.
Absolutely.
So another question, can vendor bills be synced as well?
You bet. I know I talk a lot about invoices because that's how we make our money, but you bet. Exactly like an invoice syncs over and creates an invoice in QuickBooks, a bill, perhaps you're paying a carrier partner for moving a load for you. A bill that gets created in Tailwind will also sync over to QuickBooks and create the same bill in QuickBooks, hitting all those expense accounts you needed to hit. And when you pay, any bills in Tailwind through our vendor pay list. This is simply a check run screen, everyone. But when you pay these bills, those bill payments will again sync over to QuickBooks and mark the bill as paid in QuickBooks, keeping your AR and your AP completely up to date between the two softwares.
And the next question here is looks like it's pretty specific. So let's see if we can get into it here, and if not, then yeah, we can respond to you afterwards. But I have a question regarding the 103 GST. We have to go back and change the taxes. Also, QuickBooks does not realize invoices as invoices. It goes in as journal entry, so it does not create any invoices under sales.
Let me speak to that, Brad. So, Danny, you are using our old version of our sync. This webinar is showing the new sync for you. Today at noon, Daniar, there is going to be a new release issued out. And yes, we were syncing journal entries prior, but we listened to our customers. Our customers said, no, we don't want journal entries in the sync. We want an actual invoice created in QuickBooks. So we listened. As you well know, we've sent out, since we've been in business, not in business, we've been in business a long time. Since we released our web-based application in 2016, we've released more than 250 enhancements to the application. So the new sync is just one more enhancement we're giving our customers. And through the new sync, Daniar, you will see invoices flowing to QuickBooks and bills flowing to QuickBooks. They won't be journal entries anymore. As to the tax issue, Daniar, you should definitely reach out directly to support if you're having a tax problem.
Just to speak to those 250 enhancements, it's really kind of demonstrates how great it is to have a truly web-based system where you're not having to wait for your mid-year updates or once a year or once every 2-year updates. These things are happening constantly in the background, and so you're just getting a stronger and stronger TMS as you as you use it.
Good point, Brad.
Yeah. As a follow-up question here from Daniar, there's an issue with incoming payments. They do not sync. We have to put through every payment twice for Tailwind and QuickBooks separately.
No, Daniar, you do not have to. Any invoice payment, I would be interested to know how you're doing it. Any invoice payment that is received, let me go to my incoming payment wizard here. So when you're receiving payments from a customer, oh, I know what might be happening for you, Daniar. You're not depositing them. Every invoice payment must be associated with a deposit record because it is through the deposit record that you set your bank account. So if you're not associating, if you're not automatically depositing them, then yeah, they won't sync over to NER. So you can gather all of your payments that are in one deposit. We receive multiple payments in a day, whether through ACH or actual checks received. You can associate multiple payments to one deposit record. Those deposits will sync to QuickBooks. I guarantee it, Daniar. So I think it's just in the way you're doing it, perhaps, and you should speak to the support team on that.
And we got questions keep on coming in, so this is great. Is the sync a one-way from Tailwind to QuickBooks Online, or do QuickBooks Online transactions also sync to Tailwind?
Wow, what another great question. It is a one-way sync only, correct. So QuickBooks won't send data back into Tailwind. So what we recommend our customers do is they use Tailwind for all of their daily activities. Let the sync send the data into QuickBooks. You, of course, do need to do adjusting journal entries, things like that in your QuickBooks. That won't send it back to Tailwind, but it doesn't need to be sent back to Tailwind. Tailwind does not have a general ledger in it, so it can't track assets and liabilities. Those types of things are handled in QuickBooks only. But as well, that one-way sync, maybe you're thinking about that you want to get your customers and vendors out of QuickBooks into Tailwind. We have a solution in place for you. You can download your customers out of QuickBooks into an Excel spreadsheet. copy and paste into one of our templates. And it is through the template that we can then import your customers and vendors from your QuickBooks file into the Tailwind, creating your customers automatically for you.
And another question here, can the sync work with bulk invoices and bills?
I'm going to assume that that means a batch invoice where you join multiple orders. Maybe you've moved 10 orders for a customer in 1 week and that customer only wants to see one invoice. Tailwind has the ability to batch your invoices together. And yes, those batch records will also flow over to QuickBooks. I am hoping I'm understanding your bulk term in the same way that you are meaning it. Please let us know if bulking to you isn't the same as batching to us.
So another question, we've been using Tailwind and QuickBooks already. Question is, if we sync them, how do we keep entries already entered in QuickBooks from being duplicated?
The software is going to pick it up. Today, when we release the new sync, it knows what has already been sent to QuickBooks. There's a little mark that's made on the back end of the application. So it's not going to send it. If you've already sent an invoice to QuickBooks through a journal entry, it's not going to pick up that invoice again and send it over. You don't have to worry about that. However, if you are a present customer of ours and you're going to be migrating to this new sync, there is one thing for you to be aware of. And that's coming out to you in a document. Any invoices sent over with a journal entry, the software has no way of matching that payment to a journal entry. So to move past the migration to the new sync, there will be some manual entry that you will have to do. Invoice payments are going to show up that are going to return an error on the sync screen, and you'll be able to suppress them and manually enter that payment into your QuickBooks. There's going to be a little catch up to do between your AR while we migrate to the new sync, but it's certainly going to alleviate some huge issues in the future for you. So a short-term pain, long-term gain, perhaps.
Somebody's asking, does the system sync continuously or do you need to go through a sync procedure?
Great question. You do need to go through a sync procedure. We want eyes on the syncing. This is your financial data after all. So someone physically initiates the sync. Let me just do that again. No, I'm just going to use next here. I don't need to connect. Someone physically has to have eyes on the sync. They simply scroll past this first page. Anything that's ready to be sent over, let me find a bill. Anything that's ready to be sent over, you hit this sync button. We don't want the two softwares open all the time to talk to each other. It's far better to have eyes on this data flowing.
Looks like a follow-up to the bulk question there. I meant, can the sync work with multiple invoices? Like, can I sync 10 invoices at the same time for multiple customers?
Absolutely, you can. So you see here, I've got two bills on this sync screen. I've got them both activated. When I sync bills, they're both going to flow over to QuickBooks for me. There you go. They're gone into QuickBooks now. So yes, you can sync multiple invoices.
Oh, all right. So someone's asking, how does an invoice in Tailwind hit my revenue in QuickBooks?
I'm not familiar. Oh, hit my revenue. Sorry, I thought you said something different. It hits your revenue by creating let me think about my debits and credits for a quick moment. Yes, creating a credit to the chart of account. Let me go to QuickBooks. It's going to be easier to explain if I display this. All right, so in QuickBooks, we all have products and services. We have a chart of accounts where our revenue and our expenses are categorized into specific buckets. We have products and services where our accessorials, let me open this up for you. So this is associated to my chart of accounts accessorial income. So when an invoice comes over, it credits your income account and debits your AR. Did that answer that question for you?
Hopefully, we'll see if they respond here. So I was asking, can you arrange a subscription to QuickBooks Online for me?
We cannot. No, you'd want to reach out to QuickBooks Online on your own. We're not a reseller of QuickBooks.
Yeah. And then the next question is, how much does Tailwind cost? How much does QuickBooks cost?
Oh, well, now there's a great question. Let me go here and get our website open up for you. I don't want to speak to QuickBooks. You can always Google QuickBooks. I think it's $24.95 per month, I think, but I should not speak to QuickBooks. You'll have to Google QuickBooks and figure that out. But here on our website, you can simply Google tailwindtms.com, and under the pricing menu, you're going to see the 3 tiers we offer our customers: a standard, a pro, and an enterprise. Now, do understand your QuickBooks Sync only comes, where's my QuickBooks Sync?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
there
with
it is.
the Pro and the Enterprise there.
Yeah, it only comes with the Pro and the Enterprise application or tier. So your pricing is right here, $99 per month per user for a very robust piece of software. Oh, I sound like a salesperson now. I'm not a salesperson.
Usually that happens when you have to start talking about price for sure. Are both of these systems in the cloud?
Yes, both of these systems are in the cloud. The joy of web-based software, the use of multi-tab browsing, the ability to have regular updates and enhancements given to you. Yes, they are both in the cloud.
I- Linda, it might make sense to just show like what the multi-tab browsing means, just because I know that does a lot of people do kind of ask about that, and they're
Oh,
not super familiar with it.
okay. Well, it probably was the toughest thing I had to get used to. I mean, I'm used to Windows-based applications where I minimize and maximize windows and don't remember what window I was working in. The joy of web-based software is the ability to easily open multiple lists or multiple records in different tabs. So here I have my order list on my screen. If I want to see my dispatch list, a simple right mouse function, and I open the dispatch list on another tab. So now I easily have the ability to navigate between my dispatch list, my order list. I can open individual orders on another tab. Transportation is all about multitasking. You guys have to have some serious multitasking tools to work in transportation. So the ability to have information on different tabs in your browser is so very useful and helpful for your multitasking tools. Hope I
Well,
covered that off.
yeah, I think so. And what kind of support is provided if I guess that's if somebody does sign up for Tailwind?
Oh gosh, it is. Again, I'm going to sound like a salesperson. And truly, I'm not a salesperson, everyone. But in my opinion, in my humble opinion, it is our support that sets us apart from our competition. While the software is incredibly robust and in depth, a really great piece of software, it is our support that is phenomenal, I believe. We have lots of ways for you to contact support. This intercom chat allows you to strike up a conversation and you get an answer very quickly. You can always call the support line. You will have access to my email where I can answer your questions by email. We're here to help you be successful with the application. There is no cost for support. Now, we do have to caveat that slightly with purchasing any of our tiers gets you full support, no problem. You want even more in-depth support? We have implementation packages available to you that get you even more help in setting up your database and using your application.
Yeah, I can see there even like the quick start kind of that everything that you get for free with like the help there and then the different packages. So hopefully that answers the question there. It looks like oh how many how many brokers are using Tailwind TMS?
Oh dear.
Christopher.
Brad, I think I think we've got well over 2,000 users. I don't know how many companies. Brad, do you know how many companies we have on board?
I can't say offhand. I can say that, our large, like some of our larger companies, have, 100 brokers using it.
Yeah,
And, the smaller ones have just like one or two. So it
yeah,
really does run that kind of gamut there. But the focus is really for our software, at least on like the small to mid-sized players that, need that bit of a boost to be able to compete against the big guys, and that's what what we built the software for. Um, oh, Kevin, thank you very much. Just I can't necessarily just show you everything, but he just says I can speak to the support personally and it's top notch. Do almost anything to help. Thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate that.
thanks, Kevin.
It's great to see. All right, let's see if there's, we'll give a couple more seconds, see if there's any more questions coming in. Otherwise, we are kind of coming up to that 45-minute mark, and we did say that's how long we would take. So I think that's probably good to start wrapping up. But if there are additional questions that people do come up with, or that you kind of think of afterwards, let me just put my screen back up here. You can visit our website, send an email to the Ask Lynda at tailwindtms.com. Give us a call if you are already using the software. Send a chat through that. And if you come to our website, you can even sign up for a free trial to see how it does indeed work in your business. So just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today, for taking the time out. There's going to be a short survey that comes up after the webinar, so if you can please fill that in. It should take you less than 30 seconds, but it just helps us as we develop future webinars. And yeah, if there are additional questions, please send them through to here. Thanks again, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.